So, dear students, today we will continue with our previous topic related to constant K passive filters. In the last class, we had talked about band pass filter, and we had seen the concept of band pass filter. We had seen how to design band pass filter of the type constant K. Okay, and we had derived the design equations for band pass filter, and the analysis of prototype band pass filter was a bit different as compared to low pass filter and high pass filter. So all of you must have understood the concept and read from the book. Now today we will cover band stop filter, and we all know that in case of band pass filter we had two cutoff frequencies, f1 and f2, and between those cutoff frequency, whatever frequencies exist that were allowed to pass, and outside those frequency ranges the frequencies were suppressed, okay, or they were rejected. Now in case of band stop, reverse will happen. We will again have two cutoff frequencies, f1 and f2, and the frequencies which lie in between the ranges of f1 and f2, those frequencies will be rejected and others will be passed. And let me tell you, the analysis of band stop filter, prototype band stop filter or constant K band stop filter, uh, that analysis is going to be very similar to that of band pass filter. So if you have carefully understood the concept of band pass filter, then for band stop filter it's going to be very very easy. And those who have not properly studied band pass filter, they can listen to band stop filter explanation clearly, so that uh, indirectly you will be able to clear your concepts of band pass filter also. So let us now move forward. So this is our band stop filter. As I told you that in case of band stop filter, we have a stop band. So between F1 to F2, we have stop band, will not have any frequency passing through. And on the either side of the stop band, we will have pass band. Okay. So in other words, you can draw it like this, that in case of band stop filter, this is the band where frequencies will be rejected. Okay, so this is your f1 and this is your f2. So here your frequencies will be passed and here also your frequencies will be passed. So this is your constant K band stop filter. So this is the basic concept. And now let us come to specific constant K band stop filter. And we have already seen the circuit of band pass filter. So if you remember, in case of band pass filter, in the series arm we had L and C in series. We had such kind of thing in case of your band pass filter. Okay, in series arm your inductor and capacitor were in series, and in shunt arm inductor and capacitor they were in parallel. Okay, so this was the case here in case of your uh, band pass filter. Okay, now dual of band pass filter is band stop filter. So in series arm, in case of band stop filter, we have L and C in parallel. You see carefully the T section of band stop filter here, L and C in parallel. So here we and in the shunt arm we have L and C in series. Okay, so that way if you remember the circuit of band pass filter, it is easy to draw the circuit of band stop filter of the type constant K. I hope this thing is clear to everybody. Okay, and another interpretation for band stop filter is that this band stop filter is tandem of low pass filter and high pass filter. Okay, so if you look at this diagram carefully, like what is low pass filter? Your low pass filter is represented like this. Its frequency response is like this. Uh, Sorry, I made a mistake. So in case of low pass filter, your frequency response will look like this. Let me redraw. So your low pass filter will pass frequencies from 0 to certain range, say f1. So this is your low pass filter response. Okay. And what high pass filter will do, your high pass filter will pass frequencies which are greater than certain cutoff frequencies. So this is your high pass filter and this is your low pass filter. Okay. And here you see the cutoff frequency of high pass filter, that is f2, it should be greater than the cutoff frequency of low pass filter. Okay. So then you have this band stop filter. Okay. So there you can say that their attenuation band is overlapping. If your attenuation band of low pass and high pass overlap, then it gives us band stop filter. Okay. Now if we go into the working of band stop filter, as we have discussed in band pass filter, its operation will be initiated when your series arm and parallel arm will be in resonance. Okay. Both shunt arm and series arm, they should be in resonance. And here what will happen, uh, your shunt impedance during resonance will become minimum. Shunt means this, minimum means it will be zero or it will be short. Okay. And your series impedance, that is this one, become maximum means infinite means open circuit. Okay. So things will become like this, that you have open circuit in the series arm and you have short circuit in the shunt arm. Okay. So if you have such kind of situation, obviously if you give anything at the input, then you will not get anything at the output. That means the frequency is rejected. So that's what we see the working of band stop filter. I hope this concept is clear to everybody. So this is your T configuration of band stop filter, and this is your pi configuration of band stop filter. Uh, this we have already discussed in detail in previous classes. So in case of pi section, you will have L and C in parallel in series branch, and you'll have two branches in the shunt in case of your pi section. Okay. So now let us derive the expressions for band stop filter. So let us see that. So as we have seen, our aim is to obtain the characteristic impedance of the band stop filter. And let us now look at the values of Z1 and Z2. What is Z1? Z1 is your series impedance, total series impedance, and Z2 is your total shunt impedance. Okay. So we will derive the expression for both Z1 and Z2. So this thing is total Z1. Okay. And this thing in shunt, this is your total Z2. So let us see. First, if we want to obtain Z1, see there are two portion in Z1, this one and this one, they are in series. Okay. So that's why this 2 has come, because these are exactly similar. That's why 2 times it has been shown. And inside thing is the parallel combination of L1 by 2 and your 2C1. See, parallel combination of this. So parallel combination of j omega L1 by 2. This is for your inductor, and capacitor is 1 by 2j omega C1. Okay. So we know if we have two impedances or resistances in parallel, its equivalent resistance is R1 into R2 divided by R1 plus R2. So same logic has been applied here. So we have j omega L1 by 2 into 1 by 2 j omega C divided by j omega L1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 j omega C1. And if you solve this, you get this. So this is our Z1. Now let us come to Z2. So it is straightforward. In Z2, we have L2 and C2 in series. So they will be simply added together. So this is j omega L2 plus 1 by j omega C2. If you solve this, you get this. So this is how we have obtained Z1 and Z2, and same thing, same kind of thing, in fact, we have followed in low pass, high pass, as well as your band pass filter. So If you understand the procedure, if you understand the logic behind one of the filters, then it will be an easy job to understand. Okay, and then as we have discussed earlier, for operation of band stop filter, we need both series and shunt arm to be in resonance. So this is a resonant condition. So omega naught is a resonant frequency. So we have omega naught square L1 C1 equal to 1. Similarly, omega naught square L2 C2 equal to 1. Okay, so if you compare the two, that means omega square L1 C1 will be equal to omega naught square L2 C2. You get this expression. So same expression we obtained for your band pass filter as well. Okay, so I hope this thing is clear to you. Next. So then we had seen, in fact, since your beginning of the discussion of prototype filters, we are defining the concept of characteristic impedance, and we are defining the characteristic impedance for the two types of sections. One is your T section and another is your pi section. So the characteristic impedance of T section is this one, Z naught T square. T means T section, Z naught is characteristic impedance, Z naught T square equal to Z1 square by 4 plus Z1 Z2. So this is the same expression that we have seen in all types of filter. Okay, so now in order to obtain characteristic impedance, we need the multiplication of Z1 into Z2. So that's why we are doing Z1 into Z2. If we do that, at the output we get L1 by C2, which is equal to L2 by C1, as we saw in the last expression. And these are constant values which we represent equal to R naught square. Okay, and R naught we have talked about again and again. This is design impedance and a constant value, real value. That's why we call it as constant K filter. So if your Z1 into Z2 is equal to some constant value, it is a constant K filter. So from the concept also and otherwise also, these things are same. So students, this is how we define constant K filter through this expression. Now we will again follow with the same procedure as we had seen in the band pass filter. So what we do, we take the expression for characteristic impedance and then we normalize by using Z1. Same thing we did in band pass filter also. So we divide by Z1. So we get Z naught T square by Z1 equal to Z1 by 4 plus Z2. Then we divide by Z2, the entire expression, we get this. Okay. And if you remember, in fact, we had a discussion also on this, that we impose a limiting condition. Limiting condition will be the condition when your characteristic impedance will be 0. Okay, and why this is called as limiting condition? If you remember the concept of your resonance, in case of resonance, your impedance is 0. So that's why characteristic impedance has been made 0, and it is called a limiting condition. Okay, so now on either side of this limiting condition, two things will exist, or two, you can say, frequencies, cutoff frequencies will exist. So the same concept we had followed in the band pass filter as well. So if we put Z naught T equal to 0 here, we get Z1 by 4, Z2 equal to -1. If you solve it further, we get Z1 square is equal to -4 Z naught square, and Z naught square is nothing but your R naught square. And this is what we get. Z1 is equal to plus minus J2 R naught. Okay. So Z1 has two values. One is positive value and another is the negative value. Now let us see further. So this is what we have obtained from the characteristic impedance by applying the limiting condition, that is Z1 equal to plus minus J2 R naught. Now what we will have, we will assume that Z1 is positive for F1 and Z1 is negative for F2. Okay, and at 0, like see, this is how we are defining things, that your uh, limiting condition is at 0. On this side we are saying Z1 is positive. Okay, and on this side we are saying Z1 is negative. So we will take both the conditions, positive as well as negative. Now, what is the value of Z1? As we have seen in the previous slide, that your Z1 was this one. Okay, so you have to memorize this, and same thing we are using here. This is your Z1. So what we are doing, we are taking Z1 equal to positive value. Positive means plus J2 R naught. Another thing, we are saying Z1 is positive for frequency F1. F1 means omega 1. Okay, so in the expression for Z1, instead of omega, we will take omega 1. You notice this thing, that we have omega 1 here. Similarly, for another negative case like this, what we have done here, same Z1, okay, but here the frequency is now omega 2 or F2. Okay, and this we are taking as equal to minus of J2R. So what we are doing, we are taking both the values plus and minus. For plus we are taking omega 1, for minus we are taking omega 2, and obviously that is quite understandable also, because we have two cutoff frequencies and we will analyze them separately. So if you solve this expression, you will get a quadratic equation in omega 1, and you know that omega 1 is nothing but 2 pi f1, 2 pi f1. So this quadratic equation you can solve, you can obtain the roots of, you can say omega 1. Okay, then you can substitute omega 1 equal to 2 pi f1 and you get this expression. So this is the expression of f1, that is one of the cutoff frequencies, minus L1 plus minus 100. If you solve it, in fact, I'll ask you that you solve it at your home and you match with the final answer. Okay, so we get f1 like this. Fine. Then if you further solve it by taking L1 common and substituting the values, you will get this final expression. So this is the final expression for your one of the cutoff frequencies, that is F1. Similarly, we proceed for F2, or you can say omega 2. So here you see we again get a quadratic equation. This is again a quadratic equation in omega 2. If you solve this for omega 2, you will get this. You already know how to solve quadratic equation. And if you substitute omega 2 equal to 2 pi f2, you get this. So this is the final expression for f2. So this is how what we have done. We have obtained the cutoff frequencies in the form of, you can say, the circuit component or the filter components, that is L1, C1, L2, C2, R0. Okay. So if you are being given the filter circuit component values, you can find out the values of cutoff frequencies, that at what frequency your filter will work. So I hope everybody has understood this. So now we derive the design equations of your bandstop filter. Design equation means we will derive the value of L1, C1, L2, C2. Okay. Normally, whenever we design a filter, uh, we will give you that, okay, this is the cutoff frequency we require. This is the design impedance we require. Okay, so if we provide these, you will have to select those values of L1, C1, L2, C2 that will give you those cutoff frequencies and design impedance. Okay, so now in the previous slide, we expressed F1 and F2 in the form of circuit components. Now what we will do, we will express circuit components in the form of your cutoff frequencies. Fine. So what we do here, we take Z1 equal to J2 R naught. See, remember one thing, though we are saying that Z1 is having two values, plus minus J2 R naught, their magnitude is same, only there is a change in sign. So even if you take Z1 equal to minus J2 R naught, it will not affect the result. There will be only a sign change, and sign change will not matter practically, because frequency, there is no negative frequency. So that has only mathematical significance. So that's why we are doing this analysis by positive. You can carry out with negative also with a sign change. So this is our expression for Z1. This is our equal to J2 R naught. Fine. So if you solve this expression, instead of omega 1, you put 2 pi f1, you get this one. You'll have to do some mathematical, expression manipulation, and you will come to this. Okay. Now you see here, we have f naught square. You remember this from where this f naught has come? You know that omega naught square L1 C1 equal to 1. So if you will be using this condition somewhere, you will get this f naught. Okay. So this is the expression we get. And if you remember, in the last class, we had seen the derivation that this f naught square is equal to f1 into f2. Means this resonant frequency square is equal to the multiplication of the two cutoff frequencies. This we had derived. Okay, so if you substitute f naught square equal to f1 into f2, we get this. And if you solve this expression for L1, you get this finally. So what we are doing here, we are expressing our inductor, that is L1, in the form of design impedance and the two cutoff frequencies F1 and F2. So this way you will be obtained this value of L. Means you can now find out L1 by 2 by using that L1, and you can find now this one. Now our objective is to find C1. So how do we do that? We know this expression from resonance, omega naught square L1 C1 equal to 1. Here C1 is equal to 1 by omega naught square L1. Now whatever value of L1 we have obtained here, you substitute. So if you substitute, you will get the final answer, and you will get the value of this one. Okay. In fact, you may substitute this, or you may substitute another expression also. Same result will come. So we have C1 equal to 1 by 4 pi R naught into F2 minus F1. So this way we will be determining C1, and from C1 we can obtain twice of C1. Now our job is to find out the parameters of your shunt arm, that is your L2 and C2. So that is also very simple. We will apply those expression L1 by C2 equal to L2 by C1. So if we do that, we get C2 equal to L1 by R naught square. I think you remember that is your L1 by C2 equal to L2 by C1. We had seen this through characteristic impedance equal to R naught square, which was equal to Z1 into Z2. So we are using this to obtain. So from C2 we get this. We'll substitute the value of L1, and we get C2 like this. Similarly, you can obtain L2 equal to C1 R square, and you get the value of L2 like this. So this is how we determine the value of your filter circuit components. Okay, and this is the design part of your prototype band pass filter. So students, this way we have completed our designing part of your band stop filter. Now we discuss one very simple numerical that will clarify your concepts further. So here what we have to do, we have to design a prototype band stop filter having cutoff frequencies 2 kilohertz and 5 kilohertz. So this is our F1 and this is our F2. So we are given cutoff frequencies and we are given design resistance. Okay, that is 600 ohm. That is your R naught. So we are given this and we know these formulas. That is L1 equal to this one. We substitute the value of F1, F2 and R naught and we get this. So this way we will obtain L1, and similarly we can obtain C1. And if you remember, we have here L1 by 2. So whatever value of L1 we have got, we will divide it by 2 and we will get this value. Okay. Similarly, C1 will be multiplied by 2 and represented in the circuit like this. Fine. So this is our L1 by 2 and 2C1. And now we need to determine L2 and C2 that we do in our next slide. So this is the expression for L2 in the form of F1, F2 and R naught and C2. So if you substitute, we get L2 and we get your C2, and you represent those L2 and C2 here like this. Fine. So this is how we will design our band stop filter. In the similar fashion, we had designed band pass filter as well. We discussed that thing in the previous class. So that's all about our constant K filters, which included your constant K low pass filter, constant K high pass filter, constant K band pass filter, constant K band stop filter. We have derived the characteristic impedance expression. We have seen their propagation constant, that is your attenuation constant and phase shift constant. We have developed their design equations. We have seen the numericals based on those design equation. Okay, so now we move one more step, and from this prototype filter we will develop one more type of filter, that is known as M derived filter. Okay, so those M derived filters are very simple, because your prototype filters are only converted into M derived filter. Okay, so this is just a mathematical manipulation, you will see. So once you have understood your prototype or constant K filters, M derived filter is very, very simple, uh, that we will see in the coming slides. Let us see that. So why we are moving after M derived filter? This is the first question that arise. Okay, so obviously we have seen constant K filter, but there are certain disadvantages with the constant K filter. The disadvantage is that the attenuation in case of constant K filter, it does not increase rapidly beyond cutoff frequency. If you remember, I had talked about ideal and non-ideal filter. So if you have ideal low pass filter, it's at cutoff frequency, this is your pass band. Okay, so at cutoff frequency your attenuation becomes maximum, so this is your like uh, rapid attenuation, whereas practically it will not be the case, and your response will be like this. Okay, so your attenuation is gradual. At cutoff frequency it has not attenuated fully. Okay, so when we say that attenuation does not increase rapidly beyond cutoff frequency, this means that attenuation is not increasing rapidly. Okay, so it could have been like this also, but we want that at cutoff it should immediately attenuate, but that does not happen. Practically what we can do, we can increase the rate of attenuation, but we cannot make it like this. This is the ideal filter which is not realizable. Okay, and I told you that this response is called brick wall response in the introductory classes of the filter, I told you. So in case of constant K filter, this attenuation part is not that good. We have to improve that, and for improving this, the answer is M derived filter. So in case of M derived filter, we will design our this filter in such a way that we will have rapid attenuation. We will have sharp attenuation curve. Okay. Now, second disadvantage with constant K filter is that the characteristic impedance Z naught that we had defined there, it was not constant, it was varying. Okay. Uh, so in terms of this parameter, we do not get any advantage in M derived. Okay. So when we move from constant K filter to M derived filter, okay, if we do that, then we get the advantage only in terms of attenuation. In terms of characteristic impedance, we do not get any further advantage. Okay, so one parameter or one disadvantage of constant K filter we are able to uh, you know remove in case of your M derived filter. Fine. So now let us look into the concept of M derived filter. So this is how your M derived filter look like. So what we do, I hope you remember this uh, prototype filter of the type T section. If we had Z1 by 2, Z1 by 2, Z2 here. Okay. Now in M derived, what we have done in case of T section, your series arm impedance that will be multiplied by M. See, it was Z1 by 2, we have multiplied by M. This is also multiplied by M. So in case of T section, your series arm impedance will be multiplied by M. M is a constant value, and that's why we call it as M derived filter. Whereas uh, uh, the shunt arm in case of T section, it will not be multiplied, it will be derived, I'll tell you. Okay. Whereas in case of pi section, your shunt arm is divided by M. So in case of pi section, your shunt arm is divided by M. So earlier it was 2Z2, 2Z2. Now we are doing 2Z2 by M, 2Z2 by M. Okay. So this is the one important thing that is required to derive M derived filter from your constant K filter. And the value of M is constant, which lies between 0 to 1. Okay. So it will always be less than 1, but greater than 0. Now, see, you notice this thing. Here we have Z2 dash, not Z2. Here we have Z1 dash, not Z1. What does it mean? If you are using M derived filter of the type T section, what you will do, we will multiply the series arm by M. Then after doing that, we will modify our Z2 of the constant K filter in such a way that the characteristic impedance of the prototype T section and the M derived T section remains same. Is that point clear? You can read this thing also in the slide, that inclusion of constant value M with the prototype filter modifies it in such a way that characteristic impedance of both remains identical. It means that if you are given a prototype filter of the section T, okay, and if you want to convert that into M derived, what you will have to do, say this is your prototype filter, Z1 by 2, Z1 by 2, okay, and say this is Z2. This is a prototype filter or constant K filter. If you want to convert this into M derived filter, you will multiply this with M, this with M. Now this will become Z2 dash. This value will be such that the characteristic impedance of this converted filter or M derived filter remains same as that of the original prototype filter. We will see in the coming slide that how do we derive this Z2 dash. Similarly, we will derive Z1 dash in your pi section. I hope this thing is clear to everybody. Let us see. So now we will see M derived T section. Okay. So for the prototype T section, prototype means, I hope you remember, prototype is nothing but constant K. Okay. So for prototype or constant K T section, our characteristic impedance was this one. We saw in band stop filter as well, under the root Z1 square by 4 plus Z1 Z2. Okay. Now what we have done, we have changed Z1 by 2. We have multiplied series with M. Okay. So your series arm was related to Z1. So wherever Z1 is there, it has been multiplied with M. See, we have got M square Z1 square. We have got M Z1. And your Z2, it has been changed or replaced by Z2 dash. Okay. See, this has become your Z2 dash. Okay. And your series arm Z1 is replaced by MZ1. So we get this. So this is the characteristic impedance of the M derived filter. Okay. Which is a new characteristic impedance. Also notice we have a dash sign here. So this is changed one and this is the original one. Okay. And as I told you here in this point, that the impedance, characteristic impedance must remain identical. So same condition we are applying here, that Z0 T must be equal to the Z0 T dash. This is characteristic impedance of prototype. This is characteristic impedance of M derived. This and this, they should remain same. So we make them equal. Okay. So after making them equal, we have to now obtain the value of Z2 dash. Okay. This Z2 dash need to be obtained. So if you solve this for Z2 dash, you will get this. You will easily obtain it once you do this analysis. And if you carefully look at this, Z2 dash is equal to Z2 by M plus 1 minus M square by 4M into Z1. So this Z2 dash is nothing but it is a series combination of these two impedances. So see here, Z2 dash is series combination of Z2 by M and 1 minus M square by 4M into Z1. So this is your M derived T section. I hope everybody understood this thing. So this is how we have derived the M derived T section. Now we move to pi section. So for pi section, as I told you, the shunt arms that will be divided by M. See, okay. So here what we have done for pi section, your shunt arm 2Z2 has been divided by M, which is made equal to, represented as 2Z2 dash. Okay. And again, we need to find out the characteristic impedance of the prototype and characteristic impedance of the M derived. These must be equal. So the characteristic impedance of prototype, we already know it will be written like this. And the characteristic impedance of the M derived pi section will be derived from this, where Z2 will be replaced by Z2 by M. So you see here your Z2 by M, here also your it should be Z2 by M, not Z2 dash. Okay. So and your Z1 will become Z1 dash. So this is Z1 dash, this is Z1 dash. Okay. So this is our Z naught pi, this is Z naught dash pi. We need to equate them or make them equal. So if you substitute here the things, you make them equal, and then obviously in case of pi section we need to determine Z1 dash so that the characteristic impedance of original prototype pi section and M derived pi section remains same. So we will solve for Z1 dash. So Z1 dash will be equal to this. This is one intermediate step, and this derivation is a bit involved. So I will advise you students to work out the different in between steps and match with the expression that I'm showing you here. So now let us move forward. So this is what we have seen in the last slide. So now we move here. So what we get, Z1 dash equal to this one. If you move further, you get this. Okay. So basically this expression has been obtained with certain manipulation so that we are able to represent our final pi section. So if you look at this thing carefully, then it is a parallel impedance combination. And what are those two parallel impedance? MZ1 into this one, 4M by 1 by M square Z2. See, this is MZ1, that is, you can say R1. Okay, this is your, this one, this is say R2. So R1 into R2 and divide by, this is R1 plus R2. So parallel combination of resistance, if formula, that formula you apply, it means these two impedances, they are in parallel, or Z1 into Z2 divided by Z1 plus Z2. Okay, so it means your as I told you in the previous slide, that our Z1 will be modified as Z1 dash. So this Z1 will be represented as the parallel combination of MZ1 and 4M by 1 minus M square into Z2. So this is how we derive T section and pi section from prototype or constant K filter, and we call them as M derived T section and your M derived pi section. Okay, so I hope this thing is clear to everybody. Okay, so we stop here for today's class. We will continue with this topic in the next class. Thank you.